days.
Welcome to the 2016 season of the 12 Days of Service. We're reading a story each day for the 12 Days of Christmas. And today we're reading a story out of our book called It's All About Christmas. And this story is called A Legend of the White Gifts. Alyssa's going to help me read this one.
Okay. A great many years ago, in a land far away from us, there was a certain king who was dearly beloved by all of his people. Men admired him because he was strong and just. In all of his dwellings, they knew they could depend on him. Every matter that came to his consideration was carefully weighed in his mind, and his decisions were always wise. Women trusted him because he was pure and true, with lofty thoughts and high ambitions. And the children loved him because of his gentleness and tenderness towards them. He was never so burdened with affairs of state that he could not stop to speak a pleasant word of greeting to the tiniest child, and the very poorest of his subjects knew they could count upon his interest in them. The deep-seated love and reverence for their king made the people of this country wish very much for a way in which to give expression to it so that he would understand it. Many consultations were held, and one after another the plans suggested were rejected. But at last a most happy solution was found. It was rapidly circulated here and there, and it met with the most hearted approval everywhere. It was a plan for celebrating the king's birthday. Of course, that had been done in many lands before, but there were certain features about this celebration which differed from anything that had been tried. They decided that on the king's birthday, the people should all bring him gifts, but they wanted in some way to let him know that these gifts were the expression of a love which was pure and true and unselfish. And in order to show that, it was decided that each gift should be a white gift.
Thank you. Good reading, Alyssa. The king heard about this beautiful plan, and it touched his heart in a wonderful way. He decided that he would do his part to carry out the idea and let his loving subjects know how much he appreciated their thoughtfulness. You can just imagine the excitement there was all over the land as the king's birthday drew near. All sorts of loving sacrifices had been made, and everyone was anxious to make his gift the very best he had to offer. At last the day dawned, and eagerly the people came dressed in white and carrying their white gifts. To their surprise, they were ushered into a great big room, the largest one in the palace. They stood in silence when they first entered, for it was beautiful beyond all expression. It was a white room. The floor was white marble. The ceiling looked like a mass of soft, white, fluffy clouds. The walls were hung with beautiful white silken draperies, and all the furnishings were white. At one end of the room stood a stately white throne, and seated upon it, their beloved ruler, clad in shining white robes. His attendants, all dressed in white, were grouped around him. Then came the presentation of the gifts. What a wealth of them there was, and how different they were in value. In those days, it was just as it is now. There were many people who had great wealth, and they brought gifts which were generous in proportion to their wealth. One brought a handful of pearls, another a number of carved ivories. There were beautiful laces and silks and embroideries, all in pure white. Even splendid white chargers were brought to His Majesty. But many of the people were poor, some of them very poor, and their gifts were quite different from those I have been telling about. Some of the women brought handfuls of white rice. Some of the boys brought their favorite white pigeons, and one dear little girl, smiling, gave him a pure white rose. It was wonderful to watch the king as each one came and knelt before him as he presented his gift. He never seemed to notice whether the gift was great or small. He regarded not one gift above another so long as all were white. Never had the king been so happy as he was that day, and never had such real joy filled the hearts of the people. They decided to use the same plan every year, and so it came to pass that year after year on the king's birthday, the people came from here and there and everywhere and brought their white gifts. The gifts which showed their love was pure, strong, true, and without stain. And year after year, the king sat in his white robes on the white throne in the great white room, and it was always the same. He regarded not one gift above another, so long as all were white. Alyssa, there's a little thing here that says, "Do you know?"
In the United States, there are more than 3 billion Christmas cards sent each year.
That's a lot of Christmas cards. So yeah, this little book has all kinds of good little tidbits in it. As you're reading along in the stories, you might find a little insert with a recipe or something explaining where the story came from, or a tradition from why we have the Christmas traditions that we do now. So anyhow, if you don't have Christmas stories, you can tune in here and we'll be happy to read them to you. Until next time, Merry Christmas!
Merry Christmas!